Hit the music.
Welcome to another episode of the Chokeslam Wrestling Report. I am your host, the infamous Ultimate One, and today we're going to be having some of the news that came through this week. There was a lot of talk about people leaving and coming to the wrestling business. We also had a big announcement on AEW, which I think is the biggest story. They came in Dynamite this past Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about that today. Guys, if you want to continue to follow me on YouTube, you can follow me on YouTube and share it with friends. Hit that subscribe button, and if you haven't, hit that notification bell to get notified with new uploads here. I want to thank everybody who supported me last week on the last episode that I have. We are also available on audio podcasts. Just in case you did not know, we're available on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and any audio podcast available, because I know a lot of you guys may not be looking at YouTube all the time. So maybe you doing something around the house, you're running, whatever, and you go to the audio podcast and listen to the podcast that way. So again, the big story this week was AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling announcing that they are doing a joint event on June 26th called Forbiddendoor. So this was about to get announced by Tony Khan this week onto Adam Cole. Pretty much, interrupted the proceedings of the announcement. And then Jay White came out. I mean, this is big. This is very big, because I remember when back in 2019, when the Elite at that time was Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Marty Scurll, Cody Rhodes, were all leaving Japan to go and venture out to do a new promotion, which is now called All Elite Wrestling today. It was big. A lot of people were a little worried because now these people, are beginning a new promotion. What's going to happen with New Japan? New Japan did not suffer at all, but anything Ring of Honor suffered the most. They got the worst loss because a lot of those wrestlers were from Ring of Honor, and they left, leaving Ring of Honor to deal with what they had, and now they were still in the works with New Japan at that time, but they kind of messed that up on the G1 Supercard that year in April, when Enzo Amore and Big Cass, who's now known as Morrissey, jumped over the barricade to go at it with, of course, Bully Ray and the Briscoes, and then after that, Ring of Honor was pretty much history, because then after that, they did a couple of pay-per-views that they did with originally they did with New Japan, but New Japan, they were no part of Ring of Honor, and instead Ring of Honor had to work with CMML, which kind of like, it was like the downfall of Ring of Honor then. So everybody was worrying about whether AEW would work with New Japan. Of course, the following year we had the pandemic, and we did not know what was going to happen, and then all of a sudden this year, or last year actually, New Japan decided to work with AEW, and they started off with Chris Jericho going to Wrestle Kingdom and wrestling Tanahashi that year, and which was 2020 if I'm correct. It wasn't last year, it wasn't 2021, it was 2020. They did had a where Jericho went out there. So everybody was always wondering if AEW and New Japan was ever going to work together. Well, that happened last year. I think it happened last year, because I know 2020 Jericho went out there, but again the pandemic happened and they weren't able to work together. And then last year, when Omega started his thing with Impact with the Forbiddendoor, New Japan decided, you know what, let's work with AEW because at that time, John Moxley had the IWGP United States title. He had that belt for a long time, for over a year. So they needed that belt back, and they needed that belt back in Japan. So what they did was they had, more John Moxley wrestle Lance Archer, and it was last year, and Archer won the belt away from Moxley after Moxley had beaten him a year before that at Wrestle Kingdom in a Texas Death Match, some type of lights out match, whatever it was. So Lance Archer then became the transitional champion because then in August of last year, he lost the belt to Tanahashi. So speaking about that, Tanahashi now is pretty much calling out John Moxley to go at it. Now Moxley, the word around is that his contract is coming up, I think next month. But I don't see him going anywhere. A lot of people are talking about, he might go to WWE. I don't see him doing that. But we'll talk about that later. But this joint venture, this event, it's going to be big. And when New Japan does something, they do it big. And if you don't believe me, G1 Supercard of 2019. Ring of Honor was trying to get Madison Square Garden the year before that in 2018. WWE tried to block them. And then New Japan came in, swung in with their lawyers. WWE backed off, and New Japan pretty much got the okay to run the show in Madison Square Garden. And this is why I think New Japan decided not to work with Ring of Honor, because if it wasn't for New Japan, Ring of Honor would never got in Madison Square Garden because they were trying to do a show there. And I went to the G1 Supercard that year, and most of the whole show was pretty much taken over by New Japan and they matches, and that was the year where Jay White lost the belt to Okada, the IWGP belt to Okada, and that's what he always say, I single-handedly sold out Madison Square Garden, that's his thing, and it's because of that. I mean, even though he lost the belt, but that night, I mean, when New Japan took over this whole show, I mean, we had some great matches. That night they had Bandito versus Dragon Lee versus Ospreay. Was it Ospreay? No, it was Tashi Ishimori who had the match. It was for the IWGP Junior title. You had Jeff Cobb versus Will Ospreay. You had Ibushi versus Naito. You had Tanahashi versus Zack Sabre Jr. You had the Honor Roll Rumble where minute I went inside Madison Square Garden, you heard Minoru Suzuki's song as soon as I went to get my seat. So when New Japan does something, they do it big. And we're talking about AEW. When they do their stuff lately, they've been doing it big. So what I've been seeing this whole week, though, is a lot of people pretty much hating on AEW. I mean, it's ridiculous what you see on Twitter, on Facebook, and all this stuff. Where you got this fan base now today that just like those who hate AEW, they're wanting for AEW to die. You see the stupid comments online, and I want to get in there and pretty much go at it with them, but that's a waste of time, to be honest. Because if you have that mindset that you want a promotion to die and whatnot because you're a WWE fan and you are, not wanting a promotion to succeed because you're a WWE fan, that's psychological. Psychologically, there's something wrong with you. Because if you're a wrestling fan, you're a wrestling fan. Now, you probably say to yourself, well, you're another one who you really don't like WWE. Well, I don't like WWE because they matches is repeat. Like I saw SmackDown this week, there's a repeat, and I don't like repeats. And, but it is what it is. AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling getting together, something that 3 years ago we were saying it would be nice if New Japan and AEW worked. And I talked about it. I remember doing podcasts about this. I mean, to me at that time, I felt that Marty Scurll, back in 2020 when he was the booker for Ring of Honor, I felt that he was the lifeline for all these promotions to work together. And I kind of said, well, you know what? NWA at that time was working with Ring of Honor. Impact was on their own. AEW was on his own. You had New Japan running on his own, but the fact that Marty Scurll at that time was working with Ring of Honor, NWA, New Japan, and not with Impact, but it could have been something that at that time I was like, it would be nice. Here we are, almost 2 years later, and this is what wrestling is all about now. You're looking at now the forbidden door being forbidden now, because you got Impact working with New Japan and NWA. You know, you have AEW working with New Japan and whatnot, and they're also working with AAA. So is Impact. The only one who's out there on their own is MLW. MLW right now, they still trying to get their footing back on. I mean, they had lost. They're getting bad reputations from wrestlers that they were not happy with MLW, with the contract situations or whatever. But right now, you know, they're trying to be Lucha Underground 2.0, you know, with the Cesar Duran stuff and you know. But right now, when it comes to MLW, I think the hottest thing going on right now is the Hammerstone and Richard Holiday situation. But I'll digress. But again, my point is bringing this up is because look what the pay-per-view is called, Forbiddendoor. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of wrestling fans during this past January when they saw where who was it? Mickey James went to the Rumble with the Impact World Title. They were like, "Oh my God, you know, WWE is in the Forbidden Door." No, they did not do it for Forbidden Door because they didn't have no female, no big name female wrestlers. They needed to try to shock the world. It was more for shocking the world, and everybody thought, "Oh, Moose is going to show up with the Impact title," and none of that happened. You know what I'm saying? None of that happened. Now, again, you got to also remember that, you know, WWE is not considered themselves a professional wrestling promotion. They are a sports entertainment company, and they're not pretty much they're not doing anything that has to do with professional wrestling. So at that point, you know, you have to look at it that way, where, you know, WWE is not, they're not for the professional wrestling fan. If we could go there, you know, they're more for trying to get new set of eyes, the casual fans, and I think when you see these posts with oh, I wish AEW died, and I wish they go under, and there's a lot of them are hardcore fans that don't leave the WWE bubbles, and they think that what WWE does is good wrestling. You know, but that's their choice. That's their opinion. I know I hit one mark, and I will be talking about it during this podcast, and it's the Finn Balor situation. And I hit this on last Friday, when I was talking to fans while I was online trying to get into House of Glory. So, you know, that's one of the big stories this week about, you know, AEW and New Japan. Moving along, guys. Other news that came in. We are going to go now with Kushida. Yep. We're going to be talking about WWE and Kushida leaving WWE. Kushida, as you guys know, came in, I think it was a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. I think it was 2019, 2020. It might be 2020 because I remember I think he left right after he fought Okada in 2020, and this is before the pandemic. Kushida could have been used better as far as when he landed in NXT. Now, he did win I believe he won the Cruiserweight, if I'm correct, but that was kind of a little later part of the Black and Gold brand. I don't think they used Kushida to his full potential. Now, we're talking about Kushida. This guy, he has been multiple times IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, multiple time IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions with Alex Shelley as the time splitter. But it goes to show you that WWE doesn't care anything outside of WWE because they are more like, oh, what has he done here in WWE? That's been the MO for years. You know, they figure like, oh, no one cares what you've done outside of WWE because it doesn't count. That's what they say. This is what the fan base and their fan base oh, it doesn't count if you haven't done it in WWE. If he hasn't wrestled in a WrestleMania, he ain't nobody. That's the WWE fan mentality, you know. And in reality, in this day and age, as far as a wrestler, pretty much not making it to WrestleMania. Right now, if you look at WrestleMania since probably from 2018 down to now, maybe 2018, 2019, it doesn't mean anything anymore. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, people go and watch it because, they want to experience the WrestleMania moments and say, oh, I was there. But in reality, if you look at it now in this day and age, in the 2020s, it doesn't matter because WWE again does not care about their wrestlers, and especially if you consider yourself a professional wrestler, they want you to consider yourself a sports entertainer. Kushida again was not used properly, and I don't care what anybody tells me as far as he was teaming up with this guy, he was teaming up. They didn't push him to his potential. Kushida, take a look what Kushida has done in Japan. Before you come after me, before you say, because this is the excuse when it comes to a wrestler who didn't make it in WWE. He wasn't good enough. No. The bookers and the guys that comes to storyline, they're not good enough because they probably put him in stupid storylines or they didn't bother to use him to his best of his ability or utilize him in matches. I mean, the guy was in the black and gold brand. That was when Triple H was in charge. And you're going to tell me that they couldn't use him in other matches? I mean, Kushida is the man. He's the man. Him and Ricochet, when they were in Japan, they will have some great, great matches. But you won't know that because, WWE doesn't tell you about guys like that, their history. Look what they've done to Ricochet. So Ricochet right now is a guy who's getting how you call it, pushed now after he got the Intercontinental title. Pretty much the way I look at it, he's getting pushed now. I think he's gonna wrestle next week, Shanky. And now they're pushing him with a 7-footer, whatever. And again, you're putting a guy who was probably one of the best Super Juniors in the business, who won the best of Super Juniors in Japan 7 or 8 years ago. And now you're going to put him in there with a 7'3" guy like Shanky. Shanky can't wrestle for shit anyway, so it don't matter. It's now you want to push him. But again, I don't defend Ricochet for the simple fact because this is the same guy when, wrestling fans were pissed off that he wasn't being pushed after he came up from NXT to his potential. He went against the fans saying, "Oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about," blah blah blah. And once I saw that, I'm like, this guy, he is not, they're gonna bury his ass to the point where he now that the guy is, he's Intercontinental Champion, and he's saying all the right stuff in his promos or whatever. Now they want to push him, again. But this is what I'm saying. Guys like Kushida, guys like Ricochet, these guys are not being pushed. You know what I'm saying? And don't be surprised that once Ricochet loses the belt, he might get let go. You know what I'm saying? He might get let go, and and he be one of the cuts that comes like in May and stuff like that. So don't be surprised about that. Other news from WWE, Rhea Ripley turned on Liv Morgan after they failed to get the tag team opportunity. I saw that. I like the way they did that. To be honest, I'm not into the big woman stuff and WWE, but that Raw segment where Liv Morgan got turned on by Rhea Ripley, that's going to be interesting. Those two going at it. I mean, Rhea Ripley should be in a title picture, should be just dominating everybody. And I mean, this girl's career went down the toilet when she lost to Charlotte Flair 2 years ago in WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania when they did it inside in the Performance Center. And ever since that, Yeah, she probably won the tag team titles, that which don't mean shit because there is no tag teams in the women's division, which is, I mean, it's worthless. But if you're gonna push Rhea Ripley now against Liv Morgan, who you guys WWE's been trying to push Liv Morgan for a long time, um, you better push it to the moon. You know what I'm saying? Because right now it's this is right now you got Bianca Belair as the Raw Women's Champion. You better have somebody who's going to be a real type, what they say, a hot heel. And right now in Raw, there's no hot heels in there. I haven't seen Bianca Belair since she won the championship because again, I don't really watch Raw, but this segment was pretty good, and I don't have a problem with it. Finn Balor addresses his U.S. title loss on WWE Raw. Is anybody surprised that Austin Theory beat Finn Balor? I wasn't. And this is another conversation I had with somebody last week on when I was online. We were talking about WWE's when I told him Austin Theory is going to be the one who's going to defeat Finn Balor for the United States title because Finn Balor right now has been demoted to the guy who's losing to younger star, upcoming star, and now that he lost the United States title, he's probably going to be one of those guys going to be off the chopping block when they do their cuts. Now you're saying, oh, well, not Finn Balor. Think about it. Finn Balor's been there since 2016, 2015, something like that. He was an NXT champion. He's been the world champion for the Universal champion, the first Universal champion, and only lasted probably a week, probably after Seth Rollins got him hurt. He has not won that title since. He has gotten title shots for that, but has lost. It was in a stupid program with Roman Reigns where he came back as a demon, and then God came in and had him lose. Finn Balor has been a waste of time in the main roster. I hate to say it. They try to bring back the Balor Club, trying to do the Bullet Club, but the Balor Club, that didn't work. That didn't catch no traction. Finn Balor has not been used to his full potential. Another guy that has a lot of talent. They brought him in, and he from the NXT when he was an NXT champion for I think he's probably the guy with the longest. It was the longest reign champion. So Adam Cole broke that. But if you think about it, now ever since that he hasn't been the same. He went back down there. He got the belt again. Had some fantastic matches in NXT with Pete Dunne, Adam Cole, but at the end of the day, they brought him back up. And what they have done, nothing. They demoted. He's on Saturday Night main event, whatever they call that. He won the United States title, and I say for what? Because we knew he was going to lose to Austin Theory. And it happened. It happened this past Monday. He lost the title to Austin Theory. Now, I bet you right now that he's on the chopping block. He will be on the chopping block. They're going to call him off when they start letting people go from there. And other news. Let's go now to Impact. Impact is going to have Rebellion tonight. I'm definitely going to check that out. I'm going to give you my feedback on that next week. Definitely, I'll let you know what I think about that. But Eric Young made a comment this week, and he said, "I would jump at the chance to return to WWE, but I don't know if they could afford me." So he said WWE probably couldn't afford his price tag if they wanted him back, but he's not holding his breath, waiting for them to call. He would be interested in potentially returning to WWE because there's always an opportunity to make more money, but he's not sure they could afford his price tag. So, I mean, Eric Young right now is I believe he is the Impact World Tag Team Champion with Diener, but they're doing that Freebird rule or Joe Doring. So I think he's better off over there in Impact. Juice Robinson says he bet on himself returning to Impact Wrestling in some capacity. He said, "I will bet that I will be back for sure in some capacity. We have a great relationship. They're really good people. I love working for those people. I love going away for those weekends. So yeah, I think I just stay tuned. Just stay tuned and I'll be there, I'm sure." So, and Impact, I caught up with a lot of their shows last week, and they pretty much their rebellion card is going to be looking good. Very interesting tonight. Hopefully, we'll see Josh Alexander be moves and get that belt back, because this is one of the reasons when I stopped watching Impact after what they did at Bound for Glory, and they shitted on him. I'm just gonna keep it real. Even though it's funny because there's people still with the Impact Wrestling who are Impact Wrestling fans who always throwing shade at AEW, but what they don't see is that if it wasn't for Kenny Omega being the Impact World Champion last year this time, they probably wouldn't even have the what we call the views they're getting now. Because Impact right now, the only reason they're getting a lot of views because that whole Ring of Honor no more, and because you take those guys out of there, Impact is going to be boring. I'm going to keep it real. I mean, they got some matches there, especially the women's match, the influencer versus whatever, the Iconics, whatever. They got a tag team. I really don't care for that. Those two tag teams are like, whatever. There's nothing to really be happy about when it comes to that. But other than that, the other cars is going to be interesting. I think they got Jonah again versus PCO. I could be wrong. I think they wrestling each other, but that whole, not to knock Impact. Impact right now is way better than it was last year. Because even though Omega was the champion, they still weren't trying to put a better product they're doing right now. So that's something that is going to be cool. In other news, AEW. Let's jump on AEW right here real quick. Other news was that Jack Evans announced that he won't be resigning, but AEW contract runs out at the end of May. So Jack Evans, part of H2O with Angelico, he's gone. He's not coming back. So people are going to be like, oh, but they didn't use him, whatever. Yeah, they didn't use him to their expectations. But the fact that you was once in AEW, that's good for you. That's a good way to go to other promotions. And, I guess you become, it's the same thing. If you was a former WWE champion or WWE performer, when you go to these indie shows, you main event most of these stuff. I mean, that's common sense. So that's a good thing for him. Jake Robert revealed that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is dealing with health issues. So they didn't give specific what type of health issue Ricky the Dragon Steamboat has, but he did made an appearance at the Major League Wrestling MLW. So he looked fine to me. So I mean, some of these guys, all of those years of traveling and taking so much punishment, it does, get the best of you. Here's a laughter that I say to myself, and I give it all out to the Shooting Up North podcast. Those guys, they bring great information when it comes to Impact. But they announced that Top Dollar, got good conversation with Impact. Let's be realistic. Top Dollar can't wrestle for beans. And I don't care what anyone says. Prove me wrong. Okay? Because this guy, when I saw him wrestle in SmackDown, he has nothing. He's just a big football player. That's it. And his whole demeanor, his attitude, his behavior, acting like he gangster, like he was going to beat up people, all this bull crap, when he got let go on Hit Row. And here talking about he had great conversation with Impact Wrestling. It would be a big mistake, in my view, to have this guy in Impact and their roster. This guy is not talented at all. And people may disagree with me or not, but he is not talented at all. Impact could do better than that. There's other guys out there, and I did mention this. I left that a comment on their podcast saying there's other guys out there that they could go for. You got Cesaro out there. You got Braun Strowman still out there, even though he's waiting for this CYN thing to pop up. Who was out there? You got Bray Wyatt. They got a bunch of wrestlers out there that you could get and whatnot. Why bring this guy, Top Dollar? This guy was nothing in NXT. He was nothing. The only thing he got track, and was because he was part of Hero. Right now, out of those members from Hero, you got Swerve and AEW. Top Dollar, they're not gonna bring him in, especially though he started talking crap about the Young Bucks. They are not bringing him in. So also there is WWE all of a sudden is interested in FTR. Unbelievable. FTR. After all those years they had him, and they didn't do nothing with them, and they try to keep them home. Now all of a sudden, because they're doing so much great work in the indie scenes, now you're interested in FTR. I thought you wasn't going to bring anybody from the indies. I thought you was bringing all this thing from the next in line, all these basketball players, cheerleaders, all this crap. Now you looking at your tag team division, which you have nothing in reality. Right now, the only thing working right now in WWE is the Arcade Bros against the Usos, which is interesting. But the only thing I don't like is these single matches that they have with the Usos, and you could tell that the Usos are going to end up beating the Arcade Bros because Randy Orton is going to turn on Matt Riddle. I see it happening. I mean, yesterday in the match, Orton turned Riddle around, looked like he was going to RKO him, and he didn't. So, it's for them to now, we're interested in FTR. No, and FTR got another year left, and they right now are on point. And speaking about that, there's also word that Bret Hart signed a contract with WWE, but this is coming from Dave Meltzer. Meltzer just sometimes talks out his ass. So I haven't heard anything about that, about Bret Hart joining WWE to sign a contract to do what? To do what? What is he signing contract to do what? To manage Natalia? What is he signing for WWE for what? For Legends deal? Come on. Give me a break. So, some of these information sometimes I look at it and I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on. And the last part here of this segment here, Big Swole says, I don't like to burn bridges. My line is still open for Tony Khan. Is this girl bugging the hell out? Are you serious? This is the same girl who said that Tony Khan and AEW was against black wrestlers or other ethnic groups of becoming champions. All of a sudden, we had Scorpio Sky as the champion. We got Jay Carhill as the champion. We had who else? Had Sammy Guevara as the champion. You had Keith Lee in there in the main event. Big Swerve and. So all of a sudden now you're seeing all these, ethnic groups getting pushed, and now you're talking about, Tony Khan, my line is still open. My line is still open. Call me if you need me. No, you messed that up when you started complaining about something that was not really happening. You were just mad because they didn't see you as a talented wrestler. Okay, and you went and pushed the envelope. You try to play the owner of a company. And then when the owner, the company came clapping back, now everybody's like, Tony Khan should have never done that. Really? Really? So with that being said, I'm like, okay. So she left. She had her own podcast, was complaining about, there's no black or Spanish. They're not being pushed when it was a lie. And now all of a sudden, she is not signed by anybody. No one has call her, hey, we want you to join our promotion and whatnot. All of a sudden, she's irrelevant. Now she's talking about Tony Khan. My line is open. I don't like burning bridges. You burned that bridge. Man, you put gasoline on that bridge when you made those comments. There's no ifs, no buts. No ifs, no buts over that. You burned bridges. And now you're trying to make it look like, Tony Khan, in a way she's trying to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My line is still open if you need me. They're not calling you back. I'd be surprised if Tony Khan brings her back. Very surprised. You know what I'm saying? Is it because, she's not working? What happened to Shelton Benjamin? Not Shelton Benjamin, I'm sorry. Her husband, Cedric Alexander. I don't see him in WWE. Does he even work there anymore? Are you serious? I mean, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Let's go with AEW. What happens this week in Dynamite? We're going to do that real quick. So this week, as I mentioned, they did the announcement. We already covered that. But AEW Dynamite started off with CM Punk versus Dustin Rhodes. That match was pretty good. It was a technical match in the beginning, and ended with both guys giving it all. At the end, though, CM Punk wins the match. Afterwards, he kind of rolled up Dustin Rhodes, and afterwards, Hangman Page comes out and confronts CM Punk. We're gonna see this match, CM Punk versus Hangman Page, for Double or Nothing, coming up in May. Also, we saw Warlord get escorted in the building by security. They put handcuffs on him with Mark Sterling giving him all this, all these rules and all that. The Comeback Club had a match versus Lee Moriarty, Dante Martin, and Brock Anderson. Dante Martin got hurt. I know Dante Martin is hurt, so he's out again. Well, actually not again, but he's hurt. I know he had a leg injury. He is scheduled to be next week in a 10-man tag, which I don't care for. The Elite versus all these guys that are not the type of guys that you want to see. So now supposedly the Undisputed Elite, that's the name of it. I mean, and it's funny because somebody did mention that in the beginning of when Undisputed Era showed up. So I don't like that. I don't like that name, Undisputed Elite. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. That's just my thing. But in this match, the Comeback Club had a good challenge between all these guys in this match. But if there's a trios tag team, these are the first guys that should win those titles. And the Comeback Club ended up defeating Lee Moriarty and Dante Martin and Brock Anderson. Brock Anderson, not much to say. He tries to be like his father. He's nowhere near his father's level. Not yet. And of course, they did an Undisputed promo. That's where they got the Undisputed Elite. They had the Jay White in the house announcing that he will be part of this Forbiddendoor, which is pretty good. I mean, Adam Cole, kind of interrupted. Then Jay White did his thing. Jay White being in AEW, that's a good move. Jay White is everywhere, even though he lost to Alex. Now was it Alex Shetty? He lost to oh my God, I forgot the other guy from Motor City Machine Gun. He lost to him at the Multiverse event and whatnot. So Warlord versus Butcher. This match, Warlord entered the ring with handcuffs on, and when they let him go, Warlord Butcher went at it, but Butcher did the mistake of power bombing pretty much Warlord, and that pissed off Warlord. And then Warlord started doing his symphony of power bombs, and I mean, he hit 4 power bombs on Big Butcher. And he beat him like nothing. So now it's just a matter of time who's going to be the next guy. And the next guy is Lance Archer. So Lance Archer next week will wrestle Warlord. Eddie Kingston did a promo for Rampage. Then Owen Hart qualifying match. We had Kyle O'Reilly versus Jungle Boy. This was a very, very good match. I was very surprised that they actually let Kyle O'Reilly beat the Jungle Boy. But then again, Kyle is Canadian, so I won't be surprised if he wins the whole thing because, the Owen Hart's Canadian, the Owen Hart Foundation, and, that will make sense for Kyle O'Reilly to win this. So O'Reilly beats Jungle Boy in this match. We already talked about Lance to challenge Warlord. Hook made his debut in Dynamite, and he pretty much beat Anthony Henry like nothing. Tony Nese was taking notes. He dominated Anthony Henry. Danhausen came out again, and so it looks like Danhausen and Hook will wrestle each other because it looks like that's what's getting into it. Scorpio Sky asking for a favor to Frankie Kazarian to let him get a title shot at Sammy Guevara. Now they're going to wrestle for a ladder match coming up this Wednesday. That's going to be interesting. Danielle Camilla versus Britt Baker. Britt Baker coming back home. Danielle Camilla pretty much gave Britt Baker a run for her money, but Britt Baker ends up beating Camilla. Britt Baker came out with 2 football players from the Pittsburgh Steelers, which it was cool. Serena Deeb versus Hiroki Shida will be next week. That's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be, I believe it's going to be no disqualification maybe. I'm not sure. The coffin match that pissed me off. Andrade ends up losing to Darby Allin. This is a thing that I'm beginning to start hating in AEW, and is these coffin matches or these matches that they're fighting in the crowd. Wrestlers who are not involved in these matches going at it, staying involved in this match. Don't know why. Private Party and Blade, I think it was Blade involved in this match. It was just ridiculous. And then to see Andrade lose to Darby Allin at a coffin match pissed me off, because when are you going to push this guy? When are you going to push Andrade to the point where he needs to be at? You got this guy losing to Darby Allin. I understand Darby Allin is the pillar of AEW, but he could lose. Undertaker lost a freaking casket match or coffin match to Yokozuna. Why you guys can't do the same thing? So I don't understand what AEW is doing here. They're not, and they need to get rid of this stupid Andrade family office. Get rid of it. And the fact that the Hardys are coming out congratulating, I'm already tired of the Hardy Boys. To be honest, I'm just tired of it. They shouldn't be pushed. Where's Miro? Where is Brian Cage? Okay, Miro hasn't been seen for over a year since he lost the belt to Sammy Guevara. It's crazy. It is crazy. And speaking of that, Battle of the Belts, it was not a good show. I'm gonna be honest. The Sammy Guevara winning the belt for the 3rd time and beating Scorpio Sky, I think, on his first title defense, that was horrible. That was horrible. And I understand what Sammy Guevara is trying to do as far as be that guy who everybody's hating now. They're trying to be Cody Rhodes and Brandy. And they're probably doing it way better than that, because Cody wasn't trying to be a heel. But I just, it's mind-boggling how you got Scorpio Sky as a transitional champion to give the belt back to Sammy Guevara for the 3rd time. So yes, be surprised. Yes, I am pretty much getting on AEW's ass about this. I don't know who came up with that stupid idea. Rampage had Adam Cole versus Tomohiro Ishii. Great match. This was a back and forth. This was a dream match. And pretty much it got ruined when Jay White took Rocky Romero out of nowhere, threw his ass on the steps, and then Ishii got distracted, and Adam Cole hit him with a low blow to win the match and whatnot, and and pin him, hit him with the boom to qualify for the Owen Hart situation. Then we had Lance Archer versus Serpentico, or whatever his name is, squash match. Why we had this? Why? To show what? You know what I'm saying? Lance Archer beating a guy who's like 5'11". Are you serious? To push the Warlord versus Lance Archer, you didn't have to do all that. That's the thing. Danny Garcia versus Eddie Kingston. There was a good competitive match between these two, but Kingston gets the win. Am I surprised? Not really. I mean, because I'm sure Danny Garcia could have beat him, but this is another setup for this feud between Jericho Appreciation Society versus Kingston and Proud Powerful. You need to bring 2 more guys, because this is not going to go nowhere. I mean, I'm not liking this. I'm telling you that, to be honest with you. I'm not liking this and whatnot. And then the Jade Cargill versus Marina Shafir. It was pretty good. You got to give credit to Jade Cargill for coming out of that deep heel hook that Shafir had on her. Shafir was not, to be honest, she shouldn't have gotten the title match. She's only was 6-0, and you give her a title match? Girl looked like she was lost. She didn't know what to do. Cargill improving every week. And to me, I think they should just, keep pushing her. The baddie section shit, I don't care for it. The baddie section, you got Kiara Hogan, you got Red Velvet in the baddie section. Doing what? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's going to put Cargill up there because now it's a faction involved. and it's going to be a while before somebody beat this girl, but she's getting better and better every week. I think Marina Sheffield, they pushed her, and they keep signing these MMA people. Stop signing MMA females. Why? It's I don't know. AEW needs to, honestly, AEW needs to just look at everything that's going on. Where is Miro? Miro's nowhere to be seen. He hasn't been seen God knows how long. Brian Cage came on Ring of Honor, part of Tully Blanchard's enterprise, have not been seen. And if you guys tell me, oh, but he came out in Dark, oh, he came out of, I don't watch that. If you're not coming out of Dynamite or Rampage, you're not coming out to me. You're not coming out. You're not coming out to the television. Nobody wants to watch this crap in YouTube. I don't want to watch none of that. And it's not knocking AEW. AEW got too many people that they're trying to push. Okay? Too many people. And there's Rampage stuff, and now you got some more Joe into the mix. You got the Ring of Honor guys in there. Then you got this big giant goof, Sanam Singh, whatever, and whatnot. And now are you gonna put him in there with Samoa Joe? And I don't know. I don't know. But the Battle of the Bells, one of the best matches I love out of the Battle of the Bells was Dalton Castle versus the Ring of Honor champion Jonathan Gresham. Jonathan Gresham, I respect this guy. As a guy who's only 5'4", he is excellent at what he does. But I don't know. AEW got to get this shit together, and I'm hoping this Forbiddendoor situation is a gigantic show that will help the AEW brand. New Japan don't need no help. They are icons in the business. I've been following them for years, since the late 80s. So, you can't ask for anything better than that. So, we'll see what happens. That is it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for supporting the podcast. I know it was long, whatever, but this is going to be the way it is because, I think it's better to do it through YouTube and through the audio podcast so you guys could get it and I don't have to do double work. And I give you all the stuff that happened, my opinions, whatever. So let me know what you think about this video. Let me know your thoughts, your comments. Everything is welcome. Again, thank you for all the love and appreciation that you guys have been giving me. So if you guys also check out my store at tcwr.veryinkpressive.com. That's tcwr.veryinkpressive.com for shirts, hats, sweaters. And you could check in there. You can see the YouTube channel link on the website. You can also see the audio podcast link in there by clicking the logo on the website, and you can listen to it, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. So check that out. Support me and all that. The audio podcast, of course, available on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Republic. I'm everywhere, guys. So check it out on the audio podcast. Again, YouTube. Hit that notification bell. Hit that like button to help me get found quicker on the search. So until then, guys, I will see you next week. Next week, I should have my review on Rebellion. Hopefully, I'll have review on the Windy City Riot, which I did not get to see yet. I will give you my pretty much my thoughts on that, and I might have a guest here next week. So check that out. Till then, guys, be safe, be well, and I'll talk to you guys next week.